رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي. Now in this example of the Quran's linguistic miracle, I'll show you a very, very precise example of the Quran's use of language purely from a linguistic point of view. Chapter 20, verse 130, it says, I'll put the translation out of the Shaitan. So be patient over what they say and exalt Allah with praise of your Lord before the rising of the sun and before its setting. Before the setting of the sun, right? However, notice, I'm going to show you a very, very precise use of language here. It says, before the rising of the sun, praise your Lord, exalt with praise of your Lord before the rising of the sun and before its setting. The setting of the sun is attributed to the sun. It says its setting. The setting belongs to what? The sun. That means, think of setting as a thing. Of course, setting is an action, right? The sun sets, it goes. Of course, we know the earth goes around, but linguistically, the sun sets, the sun goes down. And this setting, of course, it's an action, but let's just say here in the language, the sun is the one who's possessing this action. It belongs to the sun. It sets whenever it wants. Not whenever it wants, but because it is a property of the sun, it owns it. It is setting. And in Arabic, قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا, it's setting, right? However, a similar verse in chapter 50, verse 39, it says, so be patient, O Prophet, with what they say and glorify the praise of your Lord before sunrise and before setting. Now here it does not say before its setting. It says, قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ الْغُرُوبِ. That's it, before the setting. Before the setting, not before its setting. Now it's not attributing the setting of the sun to the sun. Meaning it is as though the sun does not own this action of setting. Right? Now this is a very, very, very precise difference. It's a very small, minute difference, and in normal language nobody would even perhaps consider it a difference. Glorify your Lord before the sun sets, or glorify your Lord before its setting. What difference does it make? In normal language you could interchange them, but look at the Quran, where it attributes the setting to the sun, meaning as though the sun owns this setting. Now linguistically look at it. The sun is still owning the action of setting, meaning it still has it, it's still alive, the sun is still there, and it can set, meaning it can rise again next day, it can set again, because it owns the action of setting, then it can rise again. So when it's talking about its setting, meaning there will be a next morning, and in linguistically there is. Now it's talking about the worldly life. That means the next morning comes back. Do not extend your eyes towards that by which we have given enjoyment to some categories of them, it being but the splendor of this worldly life. Now it's talking about the worldly life, and then enjoy and prayer upon your family, of course talking about worldly life, and be steadfast therein. So all talking about worldly life, right? So that means you're still talking about this worldly life. That means the setting still belongs to the sun, meaning you're still in this worldly life. However, in Surah Qaf, linguistic, it's all linguistically, right? I'm not all talking linguistics, the context. Here where it says before sunset, not before its sunset, meaning the sun doesn't own it anymore. It's as though the sun is finished. Now linguistically it doesn't talk about this world life. It goes to the afterlife, meaning this earth, this solar system, all the sun, the moon, all finished. Now we're going directly to the afterlife. The sun doesn't own it anymore, meaning that's it. There's not going to be any more sunsets. The next verse, after glorifying him in the part of the night, and listen on the day. Now the day of judgment comes. On the day the caller will call out from a near place, talking about the day of judgment. The day all will hear the mighty blast in all truth. That will be the day of emergence from the graves. It is certainly we who give life and cause death, and to us is the final. Linguistically, when he was talking about the day of judgment, it's linguistically already pointed to it as though saying that the setting of the sun will no more belong to it. Now linguistically, I'm not going to talk about this worldly life. That's it. There will be no more suns. Subhanallah, so beautiful. And from another point of view as well, when it's the setting belongs to the sun, right? غروبها, meaning the next morning will come back, that the sun will set again, right? So in the context, what does it say? It talks about the next morning. It talks about the morning time, and during periods, praise, they exalt with praise of your Lord before the rising of the sun and before its setting, and during periods of the night and at the ends of the day. So it mentions the day as well. But in Surah Qaf, it doesn't mention the day. It says, glorify the praise of your Lord before sunrise, before sunset, and glorify him during part of the night and after the prayers. It does not, by the way, it says prostration here, a sujood, not even prayers, it says sujood. So it doesn't mention the daytime. Subhanallah. So it's so beautiful. When Allah says the setting belongs to the sun, it mentions the worldly life, because there's going to be another sunset. The setting still belongs to the sun. And it talks about the day and the night, right? The day, which atraf al-nahar, talks about the day as well as the night. as though there will be a next day. But when it doesn't talk about the sun not the sunset not belonging to the sun, simply the sunset. It doesn't say it belongs to the sun, although it does belong to the sun, right? It's as though that's it. It talks about the day of judgment, and it doesn't even mention the daytime. Just mentions glorify him during the part of the night and adbar sujud, prostration. I don't know why he has translated it as prayers over here, right? So anyways, that's the beauty of the language of the Quran. The slightest change, simply possessing pointing the possession of the setting towards the sun, it is as though there will be another day. And when it doesn't, it talks about the day of judgment. Subhanallah, this is the slightest of difference, shows the beauty of the Quran. Like, may Allah help us appreciate the language of the Quran. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.